West at 103 North Detroit, Buchanan, Michigan. I'm just up here, I don't believe the city should be in the real estate business. But on the other hand, the way this property was acquired is pretty much the way it's being sold. I went out and took a picture. May I approach?
Yes, you may.
Sale sign. Just pass it down. The degree of professionalism by this office just absolutely amazes me every time it catches me. I hope you get rid of it. I want you to get rid of it for the price you paid for it, plus what it costs to have these hearings, plus any paperwork we had to pay for it. And I'd like to kind of know, and I'm sure the public would like to know, did the neighbor approach the city, or did the city suddenly decide to sell this piece of property? Since the city does own 1 acre of property next to this property, and that's why this property was originally bought. Was supposed to be a dog park. As we all know, it didn't become a dog park. So I would like for you to get rid of it maybe hang on to it, keep it with the 1 acre. I'm just kind of torn. I just don't want to see us give it away because we bought it in a hurry. Thank you.
Is anyone else wanting to come forward and make comments on the sale of the property? Anyone else? Okay. Now adjourning the public hearing. And we are going to open the next public hearing, which is to invite public comments on adult use marijuana facilities within the city of Buchanan. Does anyone want to come forward and speak? Come forward.
Alan Robont, 114 East Front Street. And this is just some wording that I noticed in the ordinance. In section 9R, you've amended the text to include the words "in existence at the time of adoption of this ordinance." And I would ask you to seriously consider in section 18A, under item 2, to add the words "in compliance with the Buchanan zoning code and in existence at the time of the adoption of this ordinance." I think that just might provide some clarification down the road for you. Thank you.
Did the clerk get the verbiage?
You got it?
Okay, very good. Thank you for your comments. Are there any other people wanting to come forward and have their comments heard about the adult use marijuana facilities?
Norma Ferris, 304 North Oak. What are you talking about? Explain to me what you are asking from me regarding adult use. What are you talking about?
We're asking for comments.
I
that
want to know what you are asking for.
Your
adult
comments, your
use.
opinion of recreational marijuana.
Are you going to have set places that it can be used?
We're all-
It cannot be used?
We're all
in-
discussing that, so I'm here to hear your comments, that's all.
I want some information,
Okay,
and I would like the public to get some information too.
okay, thank you for your comments. Are there any other people wanting to make comments during this public hearing? Okay, seeing no one rise. Oh, go ahead, come forward.
Dave Murray, Redbud Roots, 215 Post Road. We currently have leased or purchased 5 properties in Buchanan. We're in acquisition of 2 more. We're going to continue to expand in Buchanan. Redbud Roots, the whole name was the Redbud City. We're putting our roots down here. For us, we're still a little unsure what the whole recreational definition and adult use definition means. I think in 3 to 4 years, it'll all kind of coexist. That's what's happened in other states. But that being said, if recreational was denied in Buchanan, our continued expansion would have to go elsewhere on the recreational side to another city. I would never want to see that happen, and we will continue to expand our medical side here in Buchanan as much as we can. We will also further our recreational side, whatever that looks like in Buchanan as well. I don't know what the future is going to look like, recreational, medical, but I think if you close that door, it will limit some expansion in current operations of some facilities. So.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else wanting to make a comment? Okay, seeing no one else come forward, I am adjourning the public hearing, and we are now calling to order the regular meeting for the City Commission. And will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I do not see Pastor Dave Mitchell here, so we will forego the invocation. And there is no one being recognized this evening. So could we have roll call, please?
Moore,
Here?
Dennison,
Here.
Downey,
Here.
Turney,
Here.
Whedon.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. We are now opening the regular commission meeting for public comments. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any agenda item. Mr. Robot?
This is under new business, number 9C, consider approval of traffic control order number 256, make 2 parking spaces, 10-minute parking in front of 113 East Front Street. Well, they've already been installed, so I don't know what you're considering at this point. And then I was under the impression that we have an ordinance specifying 3-hour parking downtown. So I'd like to know, where do I get the paperwork to get 10-minute parking spaces in front of my store? Thank you.
Mr. Vigonski, did you want to come forward?
Dan Bianski, 103 North Detroit. I noticed the signs are already up, but that was basically something I was going to touch on. But I think they're illegal signs anyhow because they're only about this tall. And I know when I was in high school, a kid got a ticket for a sign, and it wasn't high enough, or it wasn't the right height, and he got the ticket thrown out. So, I mean, we put them up. We didn't authorize it. It's on the agenda for new business tonight, and they're already in the ground. So, but basically, what I wanted to touch on too is you're all very proud of the Thrill. You all know my record on the Thrill, the accountability of the Thrill. We're going to brag about how much we made, how much we took in. I want to know, once you give that money to Barb, how much is the city going to take back from Barb to get their grass mowed in the parks? And if there's a deficit for this property, for the old dog park, or what the dog park was going to be, is the dog park going to steal that from Barb? And I use the word steal on purpose. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy Benson, 212 Cecil Street. Forgive my voice. I'm looking at new business, letter B, and I agree with the senior center wanting that there. While I don't go to the senior center, I do walk my dog all over the place up there, and when I walk him, especially on Mondays when I go to school early, those cars whip along in there, and I have a black dog, and while I am not immobile, I don't run like a teenager. And it's easy to get hit, so I like the fact that you're considering putting something there to make people be able to see. They can see fine coming from town. It's those people that come up some little incline towards that area. So are you going to put like flashing lights or something there, or what? or just a sign?
Okay, go ahead.
I had some discussion with the senior center director. I think I gave an email to Bill and Brenda on that. He's in the senior center's director is apparently working with the county to try to get something there and also possibly some lights, so
Okay.
don't know
Oh, so
what.
it's county business as opposed to city business?
The Berrien County
Okay.
Road Department.
Okay.
Check with the director. He might have some later information on that.
I'm just worried about the people crossing from
Yeah,
Mattia Court.
I agree.
They can't move as fast as I can, and
Yeah.
I'm finding sometimes that I have to really kick it to get the dog to get over
Yeah, I've
there
had
before
some,
we get run over.
I've had a lot of give and take with the director there. So
Okay.
he says he's getting some favorable information from the Berrien County Road Department, so I haven't heard back from him since.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you for your comments. Excuse me.
You okay?
Yeah.
Let me take over.
I got it. Are there any other comments that I can cough over? Excuse me. See no one rise. We'll move on to the consent calendar. We do have a couple of changes to entertain. The clerk has provided two changes to include on the consent calendar. Let's see. Item E, the final spot, to add check number 79640, the amount of $9.90 for Eland for the farmer's market website maintenance on behalf of the DDA. And another change would be to, under new business, approve the grant agreement between Michigan Gateway Community Foundation and the Buchanan City Police Department for RAD rape defense class in the amount of $1,700.
Yeah, there's a typo.
It's 1,700, not 17,000.
That's 1,700.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
So, yeah, several people pointed that out. So, could I have a motion to make that amendment to the consent calendar, please?
Your Honor, I could make the motion, but I have a question on two checks. I just wanted to know what they are for.
Well, this is just for the, not the
Oh, for-
total, this is just for those changes.
Okay, I'll make the motion just to make the changes as amended for tonight's calendar.
I'll second that.
Okay, could we have roll call on the amendment?
Whedon,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Downey,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
motion carries.
Now I will entertain a motion to approve the amended consent calendar.
Your Honor, I'll make that motion just on a question.
Go ahead and give your question to the city manager.
On check number 79584 and 79585, I'm not sure what this is, the 1.7% Buchanan Township. I think it means reimbursement.
The 1.7% is what, through our water rates, that's what we pay back to the township. That was part of the agreement we had with them, that they get 1.7% of the revenues. And actually, I'm believing that should be 17% of the revenues from the water fund. But I will verify that and put it in your briefing for this week. So that's what I believe those funds, those amounts are for.
Were there any other?
No, Your Honor, that was it. I just
Okay.
didn't have an explanation for that.
Okay, so your motion still stands to
Yes, Your Honor.
approve the amended consent calendar. Is there support?
I'll support it.
Commissioner Downey, thank you. And could we have roll call, please?
Bernie,
Yes.
Downey,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Whedon.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. All right, we are moving now on to the reports. And we will start with the Thrill on the Hill report.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Again, to give you a kind of a update and report on how the Thrill on the Hill did this year. Again, I'm happy to report that the Thrill on the Hill was very successful. In your packets, you had somewhat of a breakdown. I'll review that with you and the audience here. Our wristband sales, the 3-day fun pass that we offer, we sold 274 of those. Thursday sales were 192. Friday sales were 628 wristbands. Friday night concert, we sold 733 wristbands for the concert. Saturday wristband sales were 1,034. The concert for Saturday night was 99. We gave out 2 volunteers. We had a lot of volunteers, and we give 2 wristbands for their efforts to volunteer for the event. So we gave out 2 wristbands there, and that totaled 184. Total wristbands this year were 3,144. And we use that number, and I've explained in the past, to set the attendance. We times that by 3 because our observations at the time of wristband sales, there's usually 3 to 4 people standing behind each of those kids that get a wristband. So in order to kind of estimate, evaluate the attendance at the event, we times it by 3. So for the 3-day event, we probably have 9,000, just over 9,000 people coming and going from the event. Crowds were, again, good size this year. Our line to get down the hill was getting a little long on Saturday. So that, that's something we try to hear and see what we can do to hasten that along. But there isn't a whole lot we can do to pick that pace up. The total duck sales for the duck race was 479. Our wristband sales for the event were $19,835. Sponsorship and donations and rental booth revenues were $16,524. Duck race revenue was $1,202. Total revenue for the Thrill on the Hill was $37,562. As you see the breakdowns, we had $705 in startup funds to get ourselves going this year. Estimated event expenditures, we had costs of $10,864.19. Water cost this year was $286. Employee overtime payback to the city, $5,192. The estimated event profit with all bills that we've received so far is $18,924.04. So next month, we should have ample time to receive all maybe outstanding invoices that might be out there, so we'll provide you with that final number. And then we'll be asking you to consider sending that profit onto the BARB for their usage.
That's fantastic. Are there any questions from the commission on the Thrill on the Hill?
Can I make a comment, actually?
Yes.
The The one thing I heard a couple of people mention while I was at the Thrill on the Hill is if there is a way, either when we're selling wristbands or when to get people's zip codes so we can figure out how many people we're bringing in from out of town.
Okay.
I just think it would be good information to have.
Yeah, well, we, every wristband that we sell, we have a formal waiver that is signed, and we do capture that information. So we can go back and look at and analyze those numbers and see where we're getting the attraction. We know we really tracked very well regionally right here. I know we have some people come in from a distance. My family came in from Iowa because they wanted to go down the hill. I think Commissioner Turney's family comes in from Illinois.
20.
Yeah, 20 people came in for this event. So it does create a lot of activity. I think it's real positive for the community. Again, the bottom line is it creates those memories in our local youngsters where they can say to their kids, I remember when our community shut down the road and we had a water slide. And so very, very positive. And so.
Commissioner Attorney?
Commissioner Dennison, I think that's a very good idea because that's, could be used for
No,
advertising.
that's what I was thinking
Yeah,
too,
it's-
is then you can, I know there was a lot of people from South Bend that came up
Yes.
here.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not sure what kind of advertising we do in that market, but, I know we get a lot of news coverage.
Yeah,
We have the actual facts, so we can prove it, so.
Our advertising budget is very low. I mean, you see our starting number here is $705. I think we purchased like 15,000 postcards that we have printed up, and then we distribute them by hand to a lot of different venues. The event itself becomes attractive to news media, and they really help spread that, and that's really, we don't pay for that. And although you realize the value of advertising, and so we get probably tens of thousands of dollars in free advertising for the event and the community through the local media. So, it's hard to deny the fact that this is a successful event. It's a good event, and if you attended it, you saw the smiling faces. And I don't know, it's a win-win.
Commissioner Attorney?
Yeah, I can't, I didn't see anybody complain, and it looks like everybody was having a good time. And as Mark can attest, most of the family came over to Lehman's afterwards there. So that's also good for business in the community. So, yeah, and it was perfect weather. So, yeah, I think everybody enjoyed themselves. That's all, Your Honor.
Is there anyone else wanting to make a comment about Thrill on the Hill? Just on behalf of us, please give our congratulations to the staff. We know.
Oh, yeah.
It really
Yeah.
is a staff energy, and they're the engine behind this. So, and congratulations to you and your planning group, because it went off very well. And the two concerts were, obviously sold a lot for those. Just those music events was just by themselves very successful, so congratulations.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, let's go on to the next item, Buchanan Senior Center. Is the director here? I don't see him.
That's too bad.
I don't see him tonight.
No,
Because
could have addressed your question.
we actually had,
Yeah.
we actually postponed this once prior to, so apparently there's either a miscommunication or maybe he's still ill or something. So we'll just hopefully put that on hold until a future meeting. Okay, let's move on to unfinished business. Review bids and consider sale of real property owned by the city of Buchanan located at 1104 Victory Street.
Mayor, Commissioners, in answering a earlier question, the neighbor who had interest in this property did approach us. And I asked them to submit a proposal to sell that property. There was a process that we go through to consider selling a public property, and that's what we're involved in right now. You're aware of your options. You can sell it, or you can hold on to it and not sell it. So those are your options. But you did instruct us to move forward with the process to see what could be offered for that property. And right now, I believe we are down to only one bid, where we had two last time. And that amount is for $1,000. Is that correct?
That's what was in your packet.
Yeah.
I believe you got a letter.
Yeah.
Letter of offer.
Yeah, so it was $1,000, and we did originally spend, I believe it was $2,700 for that property. So it's up to you what you would like to do with it. You know, there's merit to keeping it and keeping it part of that lot, or there's, you know, merit to passing it on to the neighbor who would appreciate that property. But that's, you know, that's what you're considering tonight.
Are there any comments from anyone? Does anyone want to make a motion about the sale of the property?
I'll make a motion that we review the bids and consider the sale of the real property owned by the city of Buchanan, located at 1104 Victory Street.
Are you approving that bid?
I will, well, so I'll make a motion to approve it.
Is there a support for that?
I'll give it support.
Okay. Now we can have more discussion since there's a motion and there's a second on the floor. Is there any, does anyone want to make a comment?
I have a question. Is the person who submitted that quote, is it the person that lives right next to that property?
Yes.
It is.
Yep, they're the ones that live just to the south of that property. Their backyard would be,
Why was the address on that offer letter different then?
they're,
No, it's the same person. I don't think it's the same person.
I don't think it is.
116.
It's 116 with Alexander.
it wasn't burning.
No, it wasn't Benny.
Okay. Commissioner Dennison may be correct. Again, it's my first day back after a while, so the last I knew was the neighbor was the one that only bid that was remaining, so.
This was a new for third bid. There were two from the previous, and this was a new person. It's in your packet. I don't know if someone brought theirs along. I did not bring mine.
Letter of offer,
Yes, that's.
Joshua
and
Adam
that's the-
Bernard.
That's the only bid we have right now.
Okay.
The two previous bidders did not resubmit.
Okay.
Commissioner Dennison, I have a question. Has the BARB discussed that corner and any kind of plan in the master plan is developing that Richard Street, Victory
no,
Street corner?
I mean, you know, we've had some people who show up and would like other parks that are already existing to be updated, so to take a blank field and turn it into a park is not on the radar right now.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Anyone else want to make a comment before we take a vote on the motion, which is to approve the bid for $1,000.
This is less than the original bid from the original
Yep.
person inquiring.
And that was the person that lived right next to the
Right next
property.
door, yeah.
And I just, that's why, when I heard you say that it was the person living, I just wanted to be clear that it was or wasn't, and it's not.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Let's have a roll call, please.
Moore,
No.
Dennison,
No.
Downey,
No.
Turney,
Yes.
Whedon.
Yes.
Motion fails.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on then to new business. Consider the approval of the installation of an underground utility conduit on city-owned property at 701 East Third Street, the Baton Mill, to provide electric service to 408 River Street, G2 Developments LLC.
Deborah, did you want to make any comments first?
I thought I would sit back and let you have the floor. I'll get back up.
Okay.
I want to start off by saying that we've received our Berrien County soil erosion permit. We still need to be permitted by the DEQ. Is that correct? DNR?
Yeah, well, the Eagle.
On our handout that you received, I can go through it page by page, or maybe a better explanation on here. This is Third Street and the entrance to the park area. I call it a park. Forgive me the.
It is the park. It's
Yeah,
Baton
the
Mill.
trail.
I'll be done.
Okay.
Standing here.
Our property is adjacent to that, at this black line here, and so, we've had several times, Bill's been out to the site, we've met with AEP, and Deborah's helping to jump through hoops with them as well. We've changed the location of this at least 3 times, Bill, and Bill even made himself available via phone while he was on vacation, which was very much appreciated. Bottom line is what we're doing is they need to add a pole here. You see the one on the picture I gave you on the first one. There is an existing pole. They need to bring another pole to this area here. And at that point, forgive me, I forget Carl's last name. Bowling. He will do the directional boring for us. And what they want to do is they want to go directly underneath when they install that new pole here, go underneath the creek. And at first we were talking about attaching to the bridge or the sidewalk area, going over the creek and staying underground everywhere else. But AEP, we had a conference with their environmental people, and they want to go underneath the creek. And they want to stay 10 feet below the creek.
Required to stay 10 feet below.
Right. And from there, it won't come up until it comes up in this building where I think many of you have seen our new existing structure that went up. And that is right here in this corner here. And it's very unfortunate the way property was divided, but this right here is our property line. This is all an open area here, but we cannot access it. We have to do the directional bore method.
And I will say too, that we did talk with the environmental person at AEP, and this is what they had suggested. They did have requirements that, again, we be 10 feet under McCoy Creek. Also, when the bore goes down, it cannot disturb either bank, and the conduit is not super flexible, so it can meet that requirement. And the third thing was that the contractor had what they call a frack out plan. So when they're boring, if any of the fluids that they used to bore should leak, they stop right away and they have a plan to contain all of that.
The material that they use, is a half-inch thick. It's very strong material.
Wow.
Are
And
there,
they did not want the other, they did not, this is a minimal, minimally invasive, they really did not want to cut down trees, and of course, going with the creek, and the trees that are there created some issues, so this was determined to be the best solution.
The other thing here, some of you have been to the site, and I invite any of you to come and visit. This space here is a concrete pad, and it's the lowest part of the property. Right here, if you were to walk the trail, you could see there's columns, and this area here is an open basement, and it's adjacent to this concrete pad that will be I call it a second floor, and this being a basement. What we would like to do as we expand is take this concrete pad here, this one here is 70,400 square feet, and I want to come back to you for a variance and go 2 stories so we can match up.
I think you got to go to the planning commission on first.
Right. I mean, that's a ways
Yeah.
off. That's not happening next week,
Okay,
Gail.
sure. You know, where the secondary, you get planning commission would be the
Right.
first, and then,
I explain that to you because that's the reason why we couldn't stick a pole here. It's
Sure.
Because of the possible additional height that will be coming back for later. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the reason why AEP has asked, and their environmental people have asked us to go underneath the creek.
are there any questions
Yeah.
about this?
So why didn't we just come off of River Street? What was the reason behind that?
There is no, forgive me, I forget the voltage, but there's no 3-phase here at River Street. The closest 3-phase would be down by Lowry's,
Okay.
and this is the shortest way home. The other thing they advised us is that this line here that is existing that we would be going into, it's the main trunk line coming into the city. And they said if there was an outage, that'd be the first one to get fixed. Because it is a main line coming to the city.
Well, and that's my question, as far as repairs, when it's that deep, are there special requirements for, and any special concerns about that placement being under the creek and doing any kind of repairs in that conduit? Do they pull it then out and have to
They do the
reinsert it?
underground
or-
boring of it's a plastic material, it's a 1/2 inch thick. We pay for that, and then the AEP, they come in and they push the conduit through that.
Okay,
The wire through the conduit.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't talk directly about repairs because they were the ones who wanted to do this. I can certainly ask if you like, I have that contact information.
yeah, I mean, that's not going to stop me from, voting on this, but I would like to know, like,
I
in
would
that.
doubt that it's an issue, Pat. I mean, they bury so much stuff now.
And I know they bore with abandon, so, I mean, and they can cut through a lot of stuff, so, I mean, I don't have any doubt that they can do it successfully, but I'm just looking down the road, will this be better protected than an overhead line, or
Will,
is
yeah.
this, more stable? Does it have other, I don't know those things, so,
And the
Okay.
transformers then would be located right here on our property.
And
Okay.
that transformer is going to be enough to feed all of your future buildings too, right? Okay.
Right, yeah.
okay. Any questions for Ed? Anyone? Okay, great, well, thank you very much. Since no one has any other questions, is there a motion to approve this installation of the utility conduit?
I'll make the motion, Your Honor, to approve of the installation of an underground utility conduit on city-owned property at 701 East Third Street, Baton Mill, to provide electric service to 408 River Street, G2 Developments LLC.
Support.
Very good. All right, any further discussion on this motion as it is? If not, roll call, please.
Tally,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Dennison.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Excellent, thank you. All right, on to the next item, which is consider approval of traffic order number 255, install and paint a pedestrian crosswalk on Rainierson Street by the Buchanan Area Senior Center located at 810 Rainierson Street.
Mayor-
Commissioner Whedon?
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Bill.
Mayor, Commissioner, I was just letting you know that part of the process for establishing a traffic control sign or a situation involving traffic safety, a traffic order is produced by the police department. It has a life of 30 days. At any time in that timeline, the traffic order makes it enforceable. Anytime within that 30 days, it has a 30-day life. So if the commission doesn't approve that traffic order, it becomes void after 30 days. So what you're being presented with is that we have a traffic order establishing that crosswalk up at the senior center. Again, we've been working with them for a couple of years to get to the point where the sidewalks are there. The last effort was we put up pedestrian signs, both kind of north and south in that area, and then we've painted the crosswalk. So what this does is you're approving the establishment of that pedestrian crossing. So that's where we're at.
Commissioner Whedon, did you have a question?
Right, I just wanted to make the point, and Cindy had mentioned it as well, that, I mean, the paint is already there, the signs are there as well, and as an individual who's traversed that road for over 30 years, coming westbound, it is definitely something that's necessary, because if you've been to the senior center or anywhere near it, there's an exceptional amount of people who attend that building, which is fantastic. It's great to see that people have a place to go, and I would hate to see anything happen, and I think that the opportunity, as you've said, Dale, for him to get information from the county is fantastic. Maybe be in the way of rumble strips or something coming on the westbound, anything to add attention to that space.
Commissioner Turney?
Just to add something to Mark and Cindy, a lot of the speed or fast traffic probably is induced by early morning golfers because they really take that road and they can take it pretty fast. So I think it's a good idea, like to put those rumble strips in, it'll wake somebody up in the morning instead of getting that tea time and remember where they're at. So, yeah, that's just wanted to bring that up.
Commissioner Dennison?
So does our approval of B make this go from a traffic control order to the law or something?
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yes.
Because it seems strange to me that we're approving something that's already done. The same with the 10-minute
yeah,
parking signs. I mean, it just
The
seems
traffic control order
bizarre.
only has a life of 30 days. What you're doing is recognizing and approving that it be a permanent.
But if we would have said no, you'd have to go back up and scrape the paint off the
Yes.
street and take the signs
Yes.
down? Doesn't that seem
Well,
kind of
after 30
ridiculous?
days, it would be void, and we'd have to go do that. So that's the way, that's
How it
designed, that's
works.
the way it works.
Welcome to government. Do you have a comment?
From the 1940s.
Yeah, the clerk, oops, excuse me.
I think you can. certainly.
The clerk informed me that we have traffic orders back from 1940, so
That are
it's,
still in
yeah,
force.
it's a process that's been followed here, and
Process.
Interesting.
Okay, very good. So any other comments on this item?
I can
Yes.
add some more information. I know there was a mention of rumble strips. That becomes a little problematic. We are trying to determine what the best way to try to add some pavement notification for travelers. There aren't very many companies that cut those into the pavement, so we would have to find that contractor. We're looking, I know there's inserts we can bore into the pavement, so we're looking at what best fits our need. Problem is, when we start to plow, those rumble strips become a real problem. And for our equipment, and then it leaves snow on the pavement, and so that whole concept is being looked at. We are going to put up the temporary signposts so our electronic signs can be mounted out in that area. We do have plans of getting the trailer down there for speed, especially as you said, the westbound traffic seems to be really the problem. They don't slow down quick enough for.
And I think the trailer's out there now, if I'm
Yeah.
correct.
It is. I've
Yeah.
seen it.
Yeah, so, and I
Yeah, I've
believe the
seen it.
county has put reduced speed signs ahead already on their side of the line. So it is being identified as a crossing, and we'll continue to enforce that idea that there are pedestrians crossing out there.
Commissioner Attorney?
Just food for thought. The University of Notre Dame has a lot of those over there, and they do they do their own snow plowing. But maybe you might want to give them a jingle and see who they have to put them in. I mean, they have quite a number of them.
Okay. Any other comments? Then I'll entertain a motion for the approval of traffic order number 255.
I'll make a motion to consider approval of traffic control order number 255, install and paint a pedestrian crosswalk on Rainier Street by Buchanan Area Senior Center located at 810 Rainier Street.
You mean to approve?
To
not
approve, yes.
consider.
Sorry, I read it
Okay.
as here.
Yeah.
Approve.
Okay.
My
To
apologies.
approve.
I
Okay,
retract
and
that.
I will support.
Okay, Commissioner Attorney supports. And any other comments? Roll call, please.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes,
Downey,
Yes.
Attorney.
Yes.
Motion carries.
very good. Thank you. Okay, and the next item is consider approval of traffic control order number 256. Make two parking spaces, parking space 1500 and 1501, 10-minute parking in front of 113 East Front Street.
Mayor,
Bill?
Commissioners, the downtown parking issue has been around for quite a while. It's become emotional and heated at times. We've sought conversation with the businesses downtown, and our local DDA left it up to us to figure out how to help. So, in understanding that our residents have desires and needs to be able to stop at certain businesses downtown that offer kind of a stop-and-go shopping for their product, be it a nutrition shake, be it a coffee at the Union Coffee House, be it a sandwich at Gary Z's. Those businesses found it cumbersome in the fact that most of those slots, those parking spaces, were 3 hours long. What we had was a problem with people camping out in some of those sites much longer than 3 hours, so there wasn't much movement, which is lost opportunity for commerce for these type of businesses that depend on convenience, their patrons having some convenience to get to their business. We heard that. This is an attempt to oblige some of that, basically allowing the residents and public to have a little more convenience in stopping and getting the quality cup of coffee at Union or one of their nutrition shakes right next door. Gary's Z's Sandwich. It's hard to be that sandwich shop and have all the accessible parking spaces in front of their business be locked up for 3 hours, sometimes longer, by, unfortunately, sometimes other business owners, employees, and it kind of would hinder the public getting access to those businesses. So what we looked at, again, we indexed all the parking spaces in a 10-block area. So, which is pretty important in the fact that when we have event management, we can look to that we can absorb so many people. As I talked about the Thrill, we absorbed probably 9,000 people over the 3 days. We watched how our public parking lots were filled, how they expanded out into residential parking, and we were able to provide spaces and parking for a major event. So we have that index. We have a better understanding of what those numbers are. And so now we look to downtown. How can we get our public convenience, greater convenience by accessing these businesses that kind of depend on a stop-and-go type of situation. So that's what we've done. And so of all the sites downtown, we're only looking at 7 or 8 of them to create an express type of parking situation to help those businesses and give access to our residents to those businesses. And that's what we have here. And it was, again, this is the first of the 7 or so signs that we were going to put in. Again, we did it on a Friday, probably not the best advisable because there was a little bit of backlash on that and misunderstanding. I think once it was explained, it really calmed down quickly. So what you have here is a traffic order putting some substance so that those 2 express sites, parking spaces that we have established. So we could wait, again, 30 days and bring it back to you to approve, or I took the opportunity to present the traffic order for you to approve those spaces for the express type of parking.
Commissioner Dennison?
The coffee shop has a blueberry coffee that's really good. I go there a lot and get it. It's delicious. I get a shake almost every day for lunch at Bucktown Nutrition. And the days that I don't, I go to Gary Z's. So I'm in all of those parking spots. Unfortunately, I feel like the city's overstepping its bounds by putting signs in front of those businesses because the signs might as well say parking for Gary Z's or parking for Bucktown Nutrition. And I don't think that's fair to the other people downtown. I think if you have cars parked in front of your business, that's a good thing. I think if the parking spots are busy downtown, that's a good thing. And I feel like the city, like I said, is overstepping its bounds by saying this parking spot, and what we're really saying is this parking spot should be for this business. And I'm opposed to that.
Any other comments? I'd actually like to kind of bring up the fact that our current parking ordinance is over 10 years old. And the reason we came up with the 3 hours was in response to the need of a couple hair salons that their permits would take that long. And they didn't want their people to have to scurry out and move their cars. So we've always tried to be responsive to the changing needs of the downtown. In light of that, our retail and commercial business downtown being a changing thing, we were looking to update, and we went to the DDA for input. And they basically had no ideas, they had nothing to help us with, even though people were coming to their meetings complaining of the parking. So it isn't that the city's overstepping the bounds. We're trying to respond to needs coming back from some of the business owners themselves at what we've been hearing. And, so I do think that there are going to be more short-term places that are needed in with a mix of longer term. It's still 3 hours in the majority of the slots. So, we're not advocating one particular building, one particular spot, because if you can possibly, go in there, you can be moved out and someone else can take your spot. My question, though, is in light of that Grand Rapids judicial ruling, how are we going to enforce anything? We can't,
Right
chalk
now,
their tires. So
with
what is the plan for enforcement?
with the federal district court ruling that chalking tires is a improper search, we don't chalk tires anymore. Now we have to observe that car, keep track of that car being in that space for the allotted time period. And that in itself is pretty difficult to do, unless you sit and babysit that spot or the downtown. We do have dash cameras in our squad cars. Those are activated at certain times, but they're not continuously running to verify some of this. So our downtown parking enforcement has been hit pretty hard by the chalk ruling. That is being appealed now. We'll have to wait for that to get through the judicial process and see what comes out of that. But yeah, difficulty in enforcing downtown parking rules are real. In this case, I mean, if they're 10 minutes, you can easily tell that. And we would pretty much be responding to complaints, complaint-driven type of an event. We don't have a parking enforcement person per se. It would fall back on the duty officer to be called to take care of a complaint of a parking violation. Again, our intent was to provide some type of convenience to our residents and public to access these type of businesses, to allow the public to be able to conveniently park close by their coffee shop or shake place or the sandwich place. So, I mean, that was what our intent was,
All
so.
right, here's, Bill, I have another question, because you mentioned Gary Z's, but the 2 parking spaces in this control order are only in front of 113 East Front Street, right?
Yes.
So you're going to bring us another
Yeah.
parking order with those other
Yes,
spots?
yes, as soon
Okay, I
as-
just wanted, because you keep bringing that up, and we only have these 2
Yeah,
spots that
and
we're dealing with.
that's what we have in place right now.
Okay.
The process, what we've determined is we can bore a hole in the pavement. We remove one of the decorative bricks. We can bore the hole. We create that pathway and put in a sleeve so we can mount that sign in the sidewalk. Fairly permanent situation right now. The signs can be removed easily, and we just remove the sleeve and we put the brick, cap the brick right back there. So I think we are adjustable to those signs. Again, it is an attempt to see if we can find that happy medium someplace, offer that convenience to the residents who we want to shop local. And so that's our effort.
Okay. Does anyone else have a question about this before we entertain a motion?
Yeah. I had concerns about the height as well as Dan, I believe. And there was a little confusion on the location. I mean, the way I looked at it, it was located right at the white line indicating the parking space. I look at it like a stop sign where you would stop before that, you would read the sign before that. Is that the intent on that, so I can explain it to people when they ask?
Yes. We actually discussed this morning because of that impression. We discussed putting an express parking placard underneath that sign, on that post, but just underneath that sign, to also try to communicate that this is a limited time period space. And so, trying to get that message out, that it's, it's intended for short-term stop-and-go type of use. And again, we have a lot of the 3-hour parking spaces left. We're only trying to work with 7 of them to see what, how is this accepted? How can it help? And so that was, that's our attempt.
Commissioner Dennison?
Were you done? I'm sorry.
No, not, I didn't, the height question didn't
Yeah,
answer there.
okay. Well, when you, in these particular signs, we try to keep them in the view of the driver who is now situated in a car, and so to make them most visible, yeah, that sign is right there, basically in your face when you pull into that site. There's no question that you can't see that sign. So I think there's a 4-foot, there's a range of 4 foot to 6 foot. These signs can be positioned, and I'll have to verify that, but.
Okay, I was just curious. And then one last thing, sorry.
But on that note, there's a handicap sign in front of, I think, the sweet shop that is even lower than the ones you just put in, just so you know.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I just want to make the comment that I'm going to abstain on this vote here because of the location of these, but for the future signs, I will be voting yes on them.
Commissioner Dennison and then Commissioner Tierney.
I hate to be a pain about these signs, but they're also really ugly. And I think they detract from our downtown.
I mean, we're good. I mean, if you want to move to a different color sign or whatever, I mean, we're,
Just saying.
Something that's,
I mean, you're gonna have, they just seem like, you've got the 3-hour one posted, and then you've got these other signposts, and it's just, to me, it's not attractive at all for
something
downtown.
with maybe the city.
Wait, it's Commissioner Tierney's turn.
That's okay.
That wasn't really a question.
Just, there was a note, a footnote here on the order. It says, traffic control orders issued by the chief of police are temporary orders for 90 days. Is it 90 days or 30 days?
no, it was 30 days. Should be
Okay.
30 days.
Okay. Just wanted to
Yeah.
bring that up.
Okay, now,
In light of the recent discussion about recreational marijuana and with the medicinal coming in, we're gonna be entertaining more of these questions as time goes on, because those are gonna be shops that I believe are going to be similar to what we're dealing with tonight. So it's not, we're probably having some pushback now, the 10 minutes, whether or not it's applicable, 20 minutes, who knows? Because I see other city municipalities in the area are 20 minutes. But as we get more businesses downtown, I can almost guarantee we're gonna entertain these discussions more and more.
Commissioner Tierney?
Mark, that's a good point. So if we needed to, if this is passed, how hard is it to change because of the business patterns that change?
Can I add to that real quick? Because here's my other thing. So the Waffle House that's moving in, it's going to be right close to Beyond Zen. So if you put 10-minute signs in front of Beyond Zen, and then, so now you have to walk 3 blocks to get a waffle? Like, I mean, that makes sense, don't get me wrong, but how's that fair to the restaurant that's right next door that's only going to have a couple parking spots for all their patrons? Now,
Right.
those people have to walk to go sit down for a half an hour. So how's that fair to them? I mean, I see you're trying to be
Yeah.
fair to everybody, but somebody's going to end up getting the raw end of the deal here.
Yeah, I go back and say, we are talking about 7 of them, and of all the spaces that are available, that are all, will continue to be 3 hours, plus our public parking lots in the rear of that new restaurant that'll be going in. I believe there's adequate parking. So, that's all I can offer up for information.
Okay.
Let me add this too, that behind the new restaurant, there's going to be parking, city parking, and behind these two spots right here, there is no parking lot within half a block.
That's a good point. Are there any other comments, or let's entertain a motion? I'll make the motion that we approve the traffic control order 256, making the two parking spaces 1500 and 1501 10-minute parking in front of 113 East Front Street. Is there a second to my motion? Okay, I'm not getting a second, so the motion dies. All right, let's move on to the next item. Approve grant agreement between the Michigan Gateway Community Foundation and the Buchanan City Police Department for RAD Rape Defense Class in the amount of $1,700. And we thank them.
Absolutely.
Mayor and Commissioners, again, we amended the agenda to get this item on because in the mail today, we received a document asking us to accept the grant that Gateway would like to provide to the police department for RAD equipment and to help train an additional instructor for the program. The program, Rape Aggressive Resistance, aggression resistance, has become pretty popular, pretty sought after. The programs are attracting some good numbers, and Bree is doing that. We would like to continue that as long as the demand is there. And to make things easier, we suggested Bree talk with Gateway to see if they'd be interested in helping us get our own equipment. Right now, it's been a little bit of a struggle for Bree to go and accumulate the equipment from different departments so she can put on a course. That was proposed to Gateway. Gateway, I believe, recognized the value of it and approved a $1,700 grant to the police department, basically the city, to purchase equipment and send one more person through the police department to instructor training. So you need to accept the grant if you wish to help support moving this program along.
Do you have a comment?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know how many individuals in here know of somebody who attended, or if you personally did. I know my wife did. She was extremely excited and got in very early, which was a good thing because the classes filled up extremely fast. I have 3 daughters, my wife and mother, and everybody in this room at some point, of the nature of the way we're created, that you are here because of that. So there's really no question about the approval of this. This is an unbelievable opportunity for not only Bree, who is in a unique situation where she is the only female on a traditionally male force and is exceptional at that, but she did an amazing job. My wife is not allowed to talk about what they did. It's like Fight Club. But it was amazing that the renewed confidence she had, knowing that her going as a nurse into a very populated city, very not populated, but of Granger, where there's ample opportunity for things to go sideways, and it was very comforting to know that. And then to see in our paperwork that it was offered to young ladies of 16 and older, what an awesome opportunity for the high school and Bree to present that to the high school as an opportunity for them as they grow and go into college. Sean, I know you have a young lady who's coming up on that age very soon, so that's it's just fantastic. That's all I can say. I'm so excited to see that they came through with this grant.
Any other comments? Yes?
Where do they go for the training?
We've held it up at the senior center. We've had it at the city center.
Yeah, but I mean, where did Bree go for training? Is it local?
No,
or-
no, I believe it was Pawpaw, the Lawrence Center, where she went. And again, Diane, the clerical person up at the police department, she's also a Buchanan Reserve officer. She's expressed an interest to go and learn, and that way it would help Bree with the instruction. So it's a valuable class. It's actually sought after by a lot of communities, and there aren't very many instructors out there doing that. So,
That's great.
Any other comments? I just wanted to say a heartfelt thanks to Michigan Gateway Community Foundation. This is an example of what they do for us many, many times throughout every year. And this is going to allow a lot of people opportunities that wouldn't otherwise have them. So I do thank them for that. And I'll entertain a motion that we approve the grant agreement.
Sean had one more comment.
Do you have any other
I'll-
comments?
No, I'll make the motion to
Okay.
approve the grant agreement between the Michigan Gateway Community Foundation and the Buchanan City Police Department for RAD rape defense class in the amount of $1,700.
And is there support?
Or
Excellent. Any further discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Ernie,
Yes.
Downey,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
motion carries.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, now we are back to public comments. And citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any non-agenda item.
Just like singing that song. Signs, signs, everywhere signs. So I stuck my hair up under my hat. I'm Dan Bianski, 103 North Detroit, Buchanan, Michigan. It would really be nice that these agendas aren't amended after public comments. It would really be nice, and I know Robert's Rules has got it set up, and I fought this at 4 years I was up here. You come down here, you guys might have it in your minutes. You can't argue about rape protection. You can't. It's got absolutely nothing to do with that. I want to make it perfectly clear that I'm not against. I've got 4 daughters and 11 granddaughters. No, I'm not arguing that. What I am arguing about and what I'm upset about is it continuously being secretive in a sense, especially when it's something that wants to get pushed through, whether it's this or something else. Put it on the agenda on Friday, and if you can't do it by Monday, wait till the next meeting. It's nothing that big a deal. It's not that big a deal. It's an emergency to some, but it's not really an emergency. The grant could have been passed at the next meeting. It doesn't need to be amended. The agenda never needs to be amended. Never. That's according to Robert's Rules, really. And then I'd like to know when the water bill work session is going to be with the police cameras. We had it scheduled.
Thursday.
Is it this Thursday? I don't see anything out there on the bulletin board. Actually, I didn't see anything out there on the bulletin board, but I'm not addressing the clerk. As far as the signs, I've attended quite a few of the DDA meetings, and this isn't really part of the agenda, but the DDA was brought up. If it was actually put on the agenda, I'm sure it would be voted on. I'm sure it would be quite well discussed. Thank you.
Come forward.
Eddie Gravelin, you're talking to you about our business at 408 River Street. I want to tell you about I think some great police work. You've all heard the expression, only in America. Well, I'm going to say only in Buchanan, Michigan. We had a construction job site trailer that was broken into, and they stole probably about $1,000 worth of equipment, generators, scaffolding, some piping. And unfortunately, my own personal power washer. The rest of the equipment belonged to different contractors. And the next week, we had some glass block that was yet to be installed and got broken. And I was like furious and Tim and Officer Chris were down there, and I'm going to attribute it to some great police work. Bill, I don't know if you've heard about this, but I got back to Tim this Monday. Everything was returned. Everything was returned except for my power washer. So I'm glad the contractors got their stuff back.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Anyone else?
Cindy Benson, 212 Cecil Street. I think we approved the lighting changes that AEP suggested, did we not? When are they going to do that? Because, as I said earlier, I walked my dog about 5:15 this morning, and there were no lights on Rynearson at Sylvan, at Cecil, at Liberty, none. Not even the little weak ones we've had. And I think there wasn't any at Claremont either, but by that point, I thought, I'm getting into Mattia Court, and I'll walk around Mattia Court, because it's lighted in there, and then I walked back home in the dark. So when are they gonna do that? I wanna see, because my dog's black.
They've started,
Mine
it's
had-
underway.
Okay.
They've done all the way down Front Street going west. They've done Chippewa, they've done, it's
On the
underway.
other side of town, okay.
Oak Street, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're working your way.
And they just put
Okay.
one on Rynearson the other day, that one that's just past the Moose on the left-hand side, right by the fitness center. The smaller fitness center on Rynearson. There's a
Okay.
new one there as well.
Okay, but the one by your house.
Right.
There wasn't anything there this morning. And like I said, I have a black dog, and sometimes he gets right in front of me. I don't want to fall down when my black dog does something stupid. And I also like to see what I'm doing, so hopefully they'll get going on it.
You'll definitely
Why were
be
the
able-
lights out anyway?
They're actually getting them done pretty
They
quickly,
are.
so I would, I
Were they
mean, I
down
don't.
because somebody turned a button off or something?
We'll look in.
Well, I mean, they may have taken the old one off and not getting the new one put on before they left town, I don't know, but I mean, they're getting them done pretty quickly.
You'll definitely
So I would
notice-
imagine in the next couple of weeks, they'll be finished.
You'll definitely notice when they're on.
Okay.
Yeah,
So maybe
you'll-
after Labor Day, the next time I have to do this, I don't have to do it once a week.
But we'll be able to tell tonight.
I can't remember how long they said it was going to take to change a light. It's not going to be an instant thing, because they're taking it, I don't remember, did,
I think
Bill,
he
do
said
you
2 to
remember?
3 weeks is what
Was
I
it
think
what
he
it was?
That's
said.
not bad, then.
And- No, and I think they just started last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean,
Well-
I think in the next week or so, it'll be real close to being done.
Okay.
Be sure to let us know if you don't see
Right.
something happen.
Okay.
And the other thing to mention, Bill brought it up, but some people had been complaining that the new lights they are very bright and they're shining in people's houses, and they will come back and adjust them. If you call City Hall and say, hey, can you have them come adjust my house,
That would
give them
be
the
you.
address.
I mean, oh, and I imagine this is on the agenda, so it's probably something I shouldn't say, but you guys suggested rumble strips. I drive up to Kalamazoo a lot, and somebody was complaining about those rumble strips. They're in Jones, Michigan, and they got rid of them because they make so much noise when you go over them that the people living nearby have to hear, blah, 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 blah. Well, rumble strips might not be too good near that senior center because there are a lot of people living there, okay?
Good point.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wanting to make public comments on non-agenda? Come forward, Deborah.
I'm Deborah Patzer, the zoning administrator. I have been asked to let the public know that the leaves that are on Zen Leaf dispensary are not marijuana leaves. They are intended, I believe, to resemble lotus leaves for the Zen in Zen Leaf. Marijuana leaves have 7 divisions and don't look like that. So for the record, I just wanted to make that announcement. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wanting to make
Can't
public
believe
comments?
someone- I can't believe that.
Randall?
Or are they complaining because it's marijuana?
Randall Peart, 312 West Chicago, and I've got 3 topics, 1 minute each. At the last meeting, we voted to study the feed mill site, and after the debacles of the River Street and the potential gas station buffet on Front Street, I think we should hand the job over to the people who were intended to study these things, which is the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission, I've attended several meetings, have been sometimes a bit short of work and start to study the morals of marijuana use for adults. And I'd rather keep them busy with something that can benefit the city. They can, first of all, do the planning for what is needed, and then carry out some of it themselves and contract with anybody who's needed to study things like groundwater contamination, traffic, night noise, anything to do with the site. It's a long, thin site running along the river, the railroad, and have to design it to do what the DPW would like to do. The second item is, I don't know if anybody has discovered who ordered the Roundup disaster in the city, where there's sites everywhere where the foliage is burned away. It may have been done just for the thrill, or it may not. But it's going to eventually contaminate both the mill race. There was the south bank of the mill race had been treated near the DPW building, and also ducks, children, the dog park, fish, because everything finishes up going over the breeding beds just behind the office here. So I would like to find out who was responsible and what their reasoning was, and then produce a Roundup map which shows the public where the Roundup had been and where they shouldn't have their children playing, or the dogs. The dog park might even be threatened because the trail behind it was treated in places, but fish particularly. So I don't know if you found who was responsible, but I hope they know they're not to do that again. And the third thing was on Friday, I think it was, a few days ago, the county road coding team, as was discussed a wee bit earlier, came to town. They came roaring down Front Street from the west. There were some heavy rubber-wheeled trucks, and then horrors, two of those rolling vehicles, probably 5 tons each, no suspension, and you could see them bouncing on the front and back of their wheels all the way down Front Street. So if we have problems with our piping or sewage pipes or whatever, you'll know they went down through downtown, turned left, went up Redbud to Arctic, where they were going. And I reported it to Tim Gaines, but obviously it was too late. But I wanted him to make sure that there was some direction given to the county not to destroy our roads in the purpose of building another one. So that's just the point. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wanting to come forward?
I still live in the same place. I have filled out an application for the job that is posted. However, I will not sign it until I know how long this piece of document has been in life. If it has been revised, I would like to know before I put my name on it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wanting to come forward? Sure, I'll allow it.
This one is just a request for the mayor to define what the Friends of the Ducks are going to do, because there are all sorts of possibilities. I won't go through them, but what is the mission statement for the Friends of the Ducks? Remembering there are humans live here.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else come forward, let's have the city manager comments.
Just a quick comment that The chip and seal that you approved has been applied. The fog seal was put on, which is something new for us. And I believe it's really a nice finished product. And I, suggest that we look at that for our additional roads that we'll be doing in the future. It's, it's almost as good as an asphalt road without the dollars expended. So I think that that was definitely a positive event for our road maintenance. So that's all I have right now. Again, my first day back after several weeks of medical leave, and I appreciate the staff and the commission enduring that. But anyway.
Okay. Anything further? Okay. Commissioner Attorney, why don't you start tonight?
Oh, thank you, Your Honor. A couple things. I'm on the Planning Commission. I just want to let everybody know that the next Planning Commission meeting is on September 10th. That's a Tuesday night. No? 17th. We changed it. Usually it's on the 10th. Thank you. So it's the 17th, September 17th at 7 p.m. That's a Tuesday, and it's at City Hall. The next general meeting for the landfill, which I am also on, is on September 18th, which is a Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. At our last meeting, basically, most of the meeting was taken up with the general manager's review. So we spent most of the time there just going over his review. And the latter part of it is we're in the midst of doing a lot of repair. We've never dewatered since the landfill has been in place, so it's time. We got to do that, so we've put out bids. So we just talked over the bids at our next general meeting. We will probably pick one, and I can give you more information on that. It's going to be not only the dewatering, but the pipes, the electrical work, everything. So we're talking lots of money. On our weekly update from Tyler, who is the general manager, and as far as environmental thing is, a lot of time was focused on housekeeping this week. Items that were worked on were the old SBR and the decommissioning of the tanks and plumbing. I don't know basically what this one is, but I'll mention it. It says the air stripper trays were clean. And the certification study was completed for the new SBR. The study was conducted in efforts to determine ways to increase the ultraviolet transmission of leachate, which I think is important, Bill, for the city. Because a lot of the leachate from the landfill comes to the city. So that's what the SBR is trying to do there. The other thing, several months ago, I told the Relay for Life people that I would be the representative for the city of Buchanan. When that day came, I didn't realize that I would be part of them, because my wife is going through cancer treatments now. So it was an extra meeting in the day that when I went there, talking to a lot of people and going through that. So it was quite an event. Well, anyway, they had mentioned to me that they wanted to move from Niles and we're looking at other places. So I said, well, what about Buchanan? So I have two emails to read. This is from Chris Gowen, who's the head of the Relay for Life for Cancer. Hello, Dale. Wanted to let you be the first Buchanan commissioner to know. Our committee voted to try out the July event in Buchanan at the Commons. We would need to use the Red Bud City Center and also the band shell. Our concern is our event begins at 11 a.m. and will there be an issue with the farmers market? As you may recall, we also have vendors who bring items to sell and also food vendors. We will need to work on this issue before attending a commission meeting to gain permission from the city. The vendors, non-food, pay a fee of $35 and can sell from after opening ceremony to just before dark. Food vendors also pay a fee to donate a portion of the processes to Relay. We would also need to discuss parking and moving forward, looking at any road closures would be necessary, looking for guidance or directions you can offer. Grateful again to you for being at our event and offering Buchanan as a new site. We are truly appreciative of the Niles Apple Fest. They have been awesome hosts. Just need to try something new. With that, I reached out to Beth Chubb, who takes care of the farmers market. And I'll read that. I sent her a copy of what Chris said so she would know what was going on. Dale, I don't think it would be a problem for the market, especially if we plan ahead. Some of our vendors do attend Relay too. We wouldn't be able to charge our vendors more at the market, but they could charge vendors whatever they wanted. Some of our vendors might opt to stay too. Keep me in the loop. Thanks. Love to Sheila. Glad she likes the cards. Brenda, did you want this or no? I can give that to you. My other comments is that, welcome back, Bill. Thanks, good to have you back. I also wanted to compliment the employee who does the easement behind Ottawa Ridge, the cutting the grass. He's there every Tuesday or Wednesday, and he asks questions and does a good job.
Thank you.
With that, Your Honor, that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Downing?
I got a question for Dale.
Yeah.
Okay, when you're talking about the relay, now traditionally they do laps around a track or laps around the fairgrounds over at the Apple Festival. Are they planning on doing the streets or the trail? Do they
No.
have to say?
What their lap is, it's, because a lot of the people are ill that are doing this, so you're not having an actual race. Do you line up?
Oh, I realize that.
Yeah, you go around once, like a few of the tents, and then that's it.
Okay.
They don't have an actual race.
No, I realize that.
Right.
At the fairgrounds, I was involved in it a couple of years too,
Ah.
and they did laps continuously. Each team
And-
did laps, and they were just walking.
Yes,
But I was wondering
there's
if
no
maybe they
running.
were going around the block, because I had,
No,
Yeah, 'cause
Had
we
this-
did this, I've done this as well, and it lasts for, X amount of time in each team.
and it does go till midnight.
this year they
right?
didn't do that.
Okay,
They just did, it was also very hot and humid,
okay.
and a lot of the people that were there were not physically able. I mean, a lot of them were in wheelchairs
I
and so
think where
on.
he's going, though, I think for participation purposes, to garner more, revenue for such a great cause, that this
Right.
would be an opportunity for us as a city to have a larger Relay for Life that would involve something of
That's-
the trail, or, I think, am I correct in that?
Yeah, the trail has a race
As a
too.
race, correct.
And that's a possibility that you can discuss with them. Go ahead on your.
I'll add, we yet to have to sit down with them and talk about what their needs are. So again, that's coming up. We'll do that, and as soon as I know, I'll let you know. But I really can imagine that the trail would be utilized. I know they're not looking at shutting down streets, but,
Sorry.
we'll see what they want or what they desire. Again, I'm excited for the opportunity to host that here. It does bring in a lot of people, and there'll be a lot of activity that morning. As mentioned, I don't think we'll have much of a problem with the vendor, farmer market vendor to their vendor. I'm sure we can coordinate that pretty well.
Do you want to continue
No,
on?
I had other comments.
Okay. Then Commissioner Dennison, you want to go next?
I just wanted to comment on the streets that got chipped and sealed. I think the fog coat, those were really, really good. I think I've gotten a lot of positive comments about the streets, and I think going forward, that should be the standard. If we're going to chip and seal in the city, that it should receive that PUD code. A couple weeks ago, I'd asked about some trees that got taken down at the corner of Chippewa and 4th Street. Bright Tree Service came in and took a bunch of trees down underneath some power lines. And I'm, I'm just curious, who cleans up? There's still stumps there that are a couple feet high. There's huge pieces that they cut off right above the trunk that are still laying there. And with kids walking to the middle school, they're right next to the sidewalk. Whose responsibility is it to clean that up?
Well, our process, practice is we offer it to the property owner. If we take the tree down, we offer it to the property owner, then we leave it on site for a time period, because usually that stuff will disappear. People will take advantage of that free wood and remove it, so we don't have to. And then we come back on brush day to pick that up. Now, if it wasn't our removal, if it was AEP's removal, I think they kind of follow the same process, but.
Well, it's been picked over. I mean, they left it there and
Okay.
people came and took the smaller pieces, but what's left there now isn't going anywhere. They're
Yeah,
too big
so-
for anyone to move.
I'll put it on the brush run and we can go out and pick that stuff up. So,
Yeah, I don't even know how you'd get it without a front end loader. I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
the
that's-
pieces that are there are huge, and then you
Yeah.
have these really ugly stumps there too.
Yeah,
So
and
is the city responsible then for cleaning the stumps up? Or,
what's left on the tree lawn is what we consider as brush. Some of them are larger logs. We'll run up there with the loader and roll them into the loader, and then we put them out in back of the DPW building.
but then what about the stumps in the ground?
Once we have enough of those, we contract with a grinder, and he comes in for a day, and he grinds all these stumps up across town. So that way we get the best price. It's usually about $200 to $300 a stump to grind for us when we do a large amount like that, so.
They are still going, that tree service is still going around to different
Yeah.
streets, so they may be planning to go back to that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, 'cause
I
you-
would assume it'd be more their responsibility or AEP's, but like, I don't know, but I agree.
Well, I
They've
think
been
it's-
sitting there for quite a while.
It's strange that they get to decide what trees come down altogether, and then we pick up the bill for grinding all the stumps. I mean, they cut down like 5
Well,
trees.
No, it's,
You know, let me just say, they will grind the stumps as well, but the trees that we take down, and we do take down a lot of trees. We can take down up to 60 trees a year. And we do keep track, and we have those, we have our contractor come in and grind those stumps. Right now, Wright Tree Service is in town doing a lot of work for AEP on several main supply lines that are in the city. That's what they're focusing on. They've been chopping up a lot of trees, leaving a lot of stuff on the ground. I know they do come back to clean that up, and I'll reach out to them tomorrow or have somebody talk with them about these properties you were talking about.
I mean, my concern is that it's right near the middle school, and there's a lot of kids there.
Yeah,
In the morning and in the afternoon. The other thing I want to do, I'm not sure how I want to ask or what we want to do, but it seems like we keep talking about where we're going to put the new DPW building, and it came up a week ago, and I'm just curious if we can explore somehow why the DPW building doesn't go back where it is right now, in its existing location, rather than right on a main drag. Is there a reason that the existing site was never part of the plan for a DPW building?
If you are familiar with the condition of that building.
No, I know, but I mean that vicinity though, back where it sits now, why can't we build a new building down there?
We would have to raise the property above the floodplain, so we'd probably have to go up 1.5 feet, so we'd have to bring in fill to raise that. Because if the present building we'd almost have to demolish the present building and rebuild on that site. So when you go over 50% remodeling of any building in a floodplain, you're going to be required to raise that property up to the floodplain, which in this case, about a foot and a half, we'll have to bring in fill to raise that slab. So actually, we'd put fill over that slab, put another slab on top of it to build on that same site.
Did we have to do that with the new water office and building that is down there?
Yes, that building was raised above the floodplain stage. Again, that building, it was raised, that's why we have such a awkward driveway up to it. And so there's some of the things.
Is that something we can explore, though?
Yes, we can. I just thought we had a vote where
We did just vote.
you identified the feed mill property as the location of the DPW building. So if the commission wants to
We did just vote.
continue the conversations, then
Perhaps you could just give some basic figures when we get the information from the new site and about like general costs that might be incurred by trying to fit that same place in the old site,
Okay.
just for comparison. That might be helpful and answer some questions, so. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm just trying to, I guess I'm trying to think of a way to quantify what I'm trying to say. So we did agree to build it down where the feed mill is. Now, say Walmart called and wanted to put a Walmart on that location. Obviously, it's not big enough for a Walmart. But would we not say, maybe we should not put the DPW building there and let Walmart build a Walmart there? So maybe that may have something to do with some of my thought process on why the feed mill might not be the perfect spot for a DPW building. But I think, I don't want to speak for Mark, but last week somebody had mentioned, why aren't we putting it at the current location where it's out of sight? And Mark and I both kind of went, gee, why aren't we doing that? So I'm just curious if we can't have the discussion and explore it a little more.
okay, yeah, we can. I mean, under that same thought process for the feed mill, we discussed about opening up that 9 acres up on River Street rather than putting the DPW up there, making that an attractive site to an industrial.
But what if we can get both?
Yeah, we could
I mean, that's what I'm
try. I
saying.
mean,
What
yeah.
what if that gets developed and somebody else wants the feed mill? It kind of leaves us with our existing site. Let's figure out what we can do to make it work.
I'm fine. We'll try to provide you with that information
Thank you.
and go from there.
Is
So
there,
all you would do is rescind
Yeah.
your motion that you made about that
but that
site.
motion is actually in force
Yes,
now. So
yeah.
we have the expectation that that will be worked on as we directed at the last meeting.
Yeah, so we just, yeah,
If supplemental information is made available that might sway us in another direction, that'd be welcome, but we've already made a decision at this point. And we will have plenty of opportunity to be hearing comments as we review even what those plans are going to look like. So do you have anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Whedon?
So to piggyback on what Sean is alluding to in a very constructive manner and in a very kind manner to all parties involved, I don't know that we fully understood what the opportunities were that were afforded to the city on River Street with the potential to not break that up. And I think we agreed that moving it to feed mill was initially a good idea. And then in light of additional questioning and discussion as we all become smarter because of all people around us, that exact topic was brought up, is that why we would not be able to put that at the same location. With entertaining bids, is we have discussed a moment ago, with the cost to put it at the same location, to just simply raise it the same way we did the water building, that would be, I can imagine, is considerably cheaper than to build on the feed mill site. But let's not forget, regardless of what we voted on the previous meetings, the necessity for us to have revenue in this city is by and large the number one thing that we need to think about. Be it from marijuana, which we are super excited about every business that's here, not just because Ed's in the room. And Alan, sorry, I don't mean no disrespect to Alan. We have to look at every opportunity. And if we get shopping centers out there in River Street and we have a nice revenue generating business on the entrance of town with Redbud coming in every single year with nationals and they continue to grow, is the DPW necessarily the best option for the visual with no revenue being generated whatsoever? So as we've all stated, we did vote that way, but in light of new information and discussion topics, I think it's not beyond the scope of capabilities for us to have those discussions. Outside of that, Randall, thank you for bringing up the Roundup question again. I got to see it firsthand outside of my home, which is disheartening for the community to see along the path here and to see along the trail. They sprayed the stop sign post and the street sign post, and it killed, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 inches around each one. And I had a discussion with my neighbor, and this is me speaking as a community member as well. We could have just used our weed whacker to take those down. I didn't need you to spray Roundup across the street, and now that part of the tree lawn, it looks ugly. So, Rando, thank you for bringing that up again. That's all I have at the moment, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to also say, welcome back, Bill, and you've been missed, but the staff has been exemplary and really stepped up and made sure whatever we needed was provided to us, so thank you on behalf of the commission. I just wanted to report on a couple of my groups. The cemetery group met last Friday out in the cemetery. Not the entire group, but a few of us trying to repair a few of the headstones. We're trying a new epoxy kind of product, so that'll be interesting. There's only a few that are cracked, some of the older headstones, so, and we're excited about some potential future plans that the group may be doing over the next couple of years. So also the dog park committee, I attended their first anniversary of the dog park, and we got a lot of good social media publicity from Sharon Travers, and I thank her for being out there and all she does for the city and promoting it. There was quite a few dogs, and they were all very well behaved, and the people were also well behaved. So that's not always assumed. So, and then in answer to about the Friends of the Ducks, the group I'm basically looking at the calendar to see what will be the best day to have a founding meeting. I have a few people that have expressed interest, but we haven't had our founding meeting. Once we do that, then the group will review like a template that the Barb has on bylaws, and we will see what fits the group, and they'll have, see who's the leader, who comes forward as the leader of the group, and then we'll be going to the Barb to get approval. So all of those kind of paperwork things, just like every other group, like Have Fun at Buchanan Parks and all those kind of groups have to go through that same process. Once they're approved, then by the Barb and checked out by here, so then we will be trying to just help the city in addressing the needs of the ducks and helping to make sure the ducks have adequate housing and feed and that sort of thing. So, you had a question?
Yes,
during my
and
comments?
I've heard this from other city individuals and my family included. What are we going to do with the ducks in a humane manner? I really truly mean that. They're exceptional to see and watch from Layman's and from the house, and they visit my house. But what are we going to do to control the number? And this is not directly at you or anybody. I mean, the city manager. What are our plans? I mean, the numbers continue to grow, and at what point is the feces and the numbers going to outnumber or outweigh the enjoyable opportunities in that park? Has that been a discussion?
Well, that's one of the reasons I'm trying to organize this kind of
Okay.
group to speak on behalf of the Ducks, or to decide when we have more than we need, or decide what the, what the process would be at that point in time. So it is an ongoing,
Okay.
thing to get a group like that together.
Thank you.
Okay, and so I want to thank everyone for their input. We had most of the people tonight coming forward to speak, so that's always wonderful to hear. We enjoy a good conversation, and I appreciate your input, and thank you to the commission, and thank you to the staff. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there support?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you.